and discipline and everything well in order. And they look upon other people who they think are vague and sloppy and who are romantic and so on and unrealistic and wishful. And they say, you're just goo. Well, the goo people turn around and say to the prickles people, why, you're just bones. You just rattle. You've no skin on you. You know the words, yes, but you don't know the music. You have no finer feelings. And so this goes on forever. Prickles people want to believe that the ultimate constituents of the material universe are particles. Goo people prefer to think of it as waves. In classical philosophy, prickles are nominalists, goo are realists. So it goes. They're always fighting. The thing is that they don't realize that you wouldn't know the standpoint of prickles unless you knew goo as a contrast, and vice versa. Because the real world is gooey prickles and prickly goo. Any way you look at it. So you see, that's just the yang and the yin. The yang is prickles and the yin is goo. And they're inseparable, but quite different. And the thing is that to see wisdom is to understand the secret conspiracy between the opposites, which you wouldn't know one without the other. That is, it were Tweedledum and Tweedledee agreed to have a battle. That, in other words, under all explicit opposition, there is implicit unity. Only, there's no real way of saying it, and in a certain way, it should remain implicit, and in a way, off stage. Don't give the show away. So you might say to me, well, why are you talking about this? You're giving the show away, aren't you? Not really. Because not everybody will believe it. Most people won't. The opposition between life and death, between good and bad, between pleasure and pain, is extraordinarily impressive. And though one may point out that it is underneath a unity, only those with a certain innate intelligence will ever be able to believe it. So one cannot really give the show away, except as Jesus said, to him that hath shall be given, and he who has ears to hear, let him hear. So this is the point of Taoism. In other words, the world, people involved in practical affairs, in business and family raising, are all upset because black might win. And they really are involved, and they know they have to do something to survive. Survival is the important thing. You really must go on living. But the knowledgeable people, when you get to a mature position, and everybody as they get older and has raised a family or whatever, you know, has to eventually get ready for death. Second half of life is a preparation for death. That to Western ears is a very gloomy enterprise. We pretend death doesn't happen. We sweep people under the carpet. When you're dying in hospital, everybody comes around and says, oh, you'll soon be better. And then, you know, the poor dying patient has a kind of notices there's a hollow look in their eyes, that they're just consoling. And that's terrible. When somebody is dying in hospital, you ought to come around and say, listen, you're going to die. Do you realize you're going to die? It's an occasion for an immense celebration. Because now, if you accept that you're going to die, you can let go of yourself. And you won't be a nuisance to yourself anymore. And so we should have a champagne party, or we should have sacraments according to taste. There should be some very special conscious entry into death of letting go of oneself. Because you only die once, and it should be a very important event. Instead of being something. I mean, no. The morticians come around and they pretend it hasn't happened. They have all sorts of ways of glossing it over. You know that passage in Henry Miller's essay, The Staff of Life? He's talking about that dreadful food, and he says, throw at it